participants, welcome on the day 5. This is slot 3 STTP on security optimization and IoT using GNU Radio Companion and USRP. So day 5 is going to handle, the full session is going to handle by Dr. S. Ankaragomadi ma'am, the topic of a routing protocol. Before starting the session, I'll give you a self-intro about our key speaker, Dr. Sankaragomadi ma'am. Is a professor and dean, the Department of ECE in Adi College of Engineering and Technology, Chennai. She's pursued her bachelor's degree in electronics and communication engineering from PSN Engineering College, Dindigul, under Madurai Kamaraj University, Madurai in the year of 1992. Postgraduate diploma in microprocessor and computer hardware in the year of 1994 at Manamani Sundaranath University, Tirunelveli, and Masters in Communication Systems from Tyagaraja College of Engineering under Madurai Kamaraj University in the year of 1997, and doctorate from Anna University, Guindy in the year of 2009. Professor Gomadi ma'am has been in the field of teaching research for 21 years, and her area of expertise will be includes mobile and wireless communication, MANET, communication systems, security of mobile sensors and communication, broadband networks, cyber security, machine vision, and application, etc. She has numerous journal publication and conferences in reputed areas and received awards and grants from DRDO funding agencies. Some of her research work have also won Best Paper Award at national as well as international level. She has delivered in accordance with the updated technology. She is also a lifetime fellow as well as senior member of Cybersecurity Society of India, ISTE and IACSAT University, World Congress Engineering London, and as a Digital Security Association of India. So I welcome you, ma'am, again for giving this wonderful lecture for the participants to gain knowledge, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir. Shall I present the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Is it clear? Screen is visible?
No, ma'am, not visible, ma'am.
Is it okay now? My voice is audible, sir. Is my voice is audible, clear?
Yes, ma'am, please, clearly audible.
Good morning, participants and my colleagues.
Yes, ma'am,
A warm welcome to all the participants. Today, this 2-hour session, you wanted to gain some information about IoT and security related issues. And I am very sure that I can give you some of the related informations with respect to the title. See, the networking means that you have to go, first of all, I'll tell you in what way I'm going to deliver this session for this 2 hours, going to gain a knowledge for you. Okay, now if you take an IoT or sensor into picture, there also you have to perform a routing algorithm, isn't it? Clear? So if you want to perform a routing algorithm, one should aware of what kind of a routing is happen place in a case of a wireless network. Nowadays, we are all having a smartphone on our hand, and day to day we are carrying out in other areas, in remote areas also, or some unknown areas also. There and all, we cannot depend on any kind of an infrastructure. So that this wireless ad hoc network plays a major role with respect to IoT and the sensor network, that is sensor devices for collecting an information. That is why I taken this topic in related to the title of your STTP. So this is very utmost important for one to gain a basic knowledge of how a routing is happen, place or performed in the case of a wireless ad hoc network. The same thing we can apply into IoT network also. There the devices you will be using as a wearable devices or some kind of a tiny devices. means that tiny devices constrains, it consumes very less power. So with that, how will you are going to communicate your information in an efficient way? That is what you have to keep in mind here. Clear? So the topic I have taken is demonstration of reactive routing protocol of wireless ad hoc network. So why we call it as reactive routing protocol, and why not you call it as other routing protocol? That also we will be seeing in the consequent slides. Okay, so this is what the important aspects of a thing which we are going to concentrate with respect to the title. Okay, so first of all, one should aware of what is mobile ad hoc network. Otherwise, going in deep is very waste, isn't it? So those who are not familiar, some of you are maybe a college lecturer or professor or assistant professor, and some of you are students also. Am I correct? Am I correct? I hope so. Okay, so
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
yeah, let us take some gist about what is MANET. That is what. After that, we'll go deeply into the concept of how well a reactive routing protocol will be taken place with the help of networking as well as IoT. Okay, clear. So first, let us go into MANET into picture. So here I have given a pictorial representation of mobile ad hoc network. From this itself, one can gain without reading any content, without analyzing any theory, because theory will not work well in this current scenario. We are moving into the fast technology changes often, then and there. 4G to 5, 4G to Industrial Revolution 4.0 to 5.0, we have moved on. And that is why the topic also every year it is keep on changing. Network, wireless network, cyber security, and going for the artificial intelligence, IoT, pervasive computing, so on and so forth, etc. So let us have a quick look at about this pictorial representation. From this, you can come to the conclusion by yourself that nodes are not interlinked about each other, and there is no access point. I have given us an access point, but no access point is connected here. So if you come to this pictorial representation here, the node A, that I will call it as a source node. Let us assume this as a source node, or you are the source. Okay, I want to communicate my information to my friend who is sitting in E, some faraway location, within my range only. Okay, let us assume that this is my overall range of the network. So to E, in such a cases, how will I communicate to E directly? No, it is not possible. So I have to perform a routing from one node to this B node, or this node to C node. C or B in turn communicate to D, T in turn communicate to E. So what is the conclusion we are making from this pictorial representation? Yes, every node will act as a router here. So node, I can call it as a host at any time, and you have to consider that as a router also. These are the operations which is performed in a manner without any access point. Whereas if you are having a mobile phone with various kind of a network, Jio, so Airtel, so on and so forth, everything is having an access point in your area. Otherwise, will you get a signal? Even if you are seeing this lecture, this virtual lecture with the help of a mobile phone means, then in that case, the tower signal strength may be weak. So you can't increase the signal strength. But supposing that if you have a setup like this in your area, so friends among you, you are connecting it, then here you can get the signal connectivity within the particular range. So that is easily. So that is why this MANET is occupying the field everywhere now. Supposing that yesterday one company has got fired, that is a vaccine manufacturing company, that SNA news everybody could have come across. So there, if I want to off all the conditions in a mode, means all the computer in off mode, and then do some kind of an operation in that fire station, fire related area, then what I have to do immediately, I have to set up a network. I can't go and depend on some other computer, and man cannot go inside to the fire and then switch off everything and make the things in a normal mode. In such a cases, I have to set up a ad hoc network only, and that ad hoc network with the help of the remote robo, so I can make all the fire conditions in off mode, and then everything will come back to normalcy. That is why if you have seen yesterday's news, because of that every operation has been jammed. Okay, so that has come into entire news, and all your share and associated things also has gone down for about 2 hours. So within 2 hours people revolved everything and then came into a normal mode. So now come to this diagrammatic representation. If I explain this with an example, then it will be clear to you. That is why I've taken that as an example. Marketing, trade marketing. Now go to this mobile ad hoc network. This mobile ad hoc network, from now onwards I will be calling it as a MANET, or autonomously self-organized network without any fixed topology. In such a network, each and every node will act as both router and host at the same time. All network nodes are equivalent to each other. Their capacity and their capacity are equivalent to each other, and they can move out and join in the network freely. Means that any network, any node, any mobile node, your laptop, desktop, PC or tablet, or else even a wearable watch, smartphone, anything, so that they can move out of the range and they can join into the network at any time. So they have a free to move around at any time. So this will perform, I can say, that multi-hop routing. What do you mean by multi-hop routing? It's a type of communication in network in which network coverage area is larger than the radio range. Now the radio range here I defined as this much only. This, you can extend the radio range also of a particular node. Therefore, to reach to the particular destination node, you can use the other node as a relay node, or else consider the other nodes as a relay node also. So if you want to extend the range, then you can be able to have some more circle nearby that, and then you can make another node to join into the previous network. In such a condition, you have to hand over the signal from one node to another node. That is what happening in the mobile ad hoc network. Then what is unique about MANET? What are the unique technology of the MANET? So as I already told, it is an autonomous collection of the mobile network without necessary of any centralized established infrastructure, and without any, so everything node will be changing rapidly and unpredictably over the time. So in near future, even now we are using this pervasive communication environment. So what is pervasive computing? You may be asking a question to me. The use of computing devices in our everyday life is called as a pervasive computing, or you can you can even call it as a ubiquitous computing also. So it includes your smartphone, tablets or laptop, or else your Apple Watch or sensor or anything. So this pervasive computing implies that people are not necessarily be aware of every information. Listen to this word. You are not needed to know each and every information of pervasive things. That is, every informations are gathered by the surrounding environment, by the surrounding devices. Clear? So we have found out the devices. So why to worry about each and every aspects by the human? So human can only monitor the informations and eradicate those issues and test those issues, and then take immediate actions when and where necessary. That is what the pervasive computing is used, and it is naturally a power constraint that I already told. It's a tiny devices. When you go into IoT, very tiny, all the devices of IoT are tiny devices. So tiny devices means the power consumed in that devices will also be less. So you have to take necessary action how to improve the power. So this area is one of the research area. So you can take an IoT into picture and how to improve the power of the particular device which you are using in an IoT in an efficient way. For routing, what I am going to teach now, that base information, information, if you understand it clearly, that you can extend your knowledge further into that. Oh, this is a ocean area. So I am taking one of the portion of that area only. Only 20% of the portion only I am going to concentrate on. Within this 2 hours, I can concentrate. MANET has got a lot of routing protocol. They are classified into 3 different variety of topology. In that one topology only I am going to concentrate. That too, in that topology, one routing protocol I am going to elaborate in a clear manner, in a very extensive manner, so that participants of the lecture will be benefited out of my informations, and I'll get a satisfaction out of that. So that is my aim of that this lecture. So when you go in for the pervasive devices, power you can concentrate on, and the security issue is also one of the important factors associated with that. Whenever you talk about security, normally people will be talking about cyber security only nowadays, but security is needed everywhere. So even the ad hoc network also needed. Once you get a security while routing, then only you can go in for the cyber security in security. And that confidentiality, authentication, everything has to be taken into picture. Now, let me classify the wireless ad hoc network into 2 types. This is a general classification, overall classifications, right from the invention of the MANET. That is, you can classify the mobile ad hoc network into 2 types. They are infrastructure-based network and infrastructure-less network. Since we are going to talk about ad hoc network today, then we have to discuss these 2 models of the network, how they are operating. So in the infrastructure mode network, while a physical structure is needed to support it, physical structure means access point, or else the tower is needed for me. This essentially means that there should be a medium handling the network function. That is what kind of a medium, and creating an infrastructure around which the network sustains. So what are the function which is performed by this infrastructure based network means it will provide access to other network also, and it can forward the information to other network also and other nodes also, and it can also able to perform medium access control. So I can consolidate this as in infrastructure based wireless network, the communication taking place between the wireless node, or I can call it as that is endpoint in the network such as computer or your phone, etc., and the access point. This is also called as a cellular network. This I have given as a clear pictorial representation, and from that this theory you can relate to that. You will be very clear about that. Just go to this diagrammatic representation, and here I have a tower. So same cell structure I have taken the picture. Here 2 cell structure I have taken, and some kind of a moving computer, moving devices, handheld devices I have here, and this can able to communicate among themselves, and there is no infrastructure is here. Now, if I want to, actually this is an infrastructure because access point I have built in, but communication between the nodes and this access point is wireless communication. It's not a wired communications like your laboratory functioning. Okay, so now we are supposing that this laptop wants to move to the particular this cell. Next, second cell means it has to hand over the signal from this tower, first radio tower to the next radio tower. This is what the infrastructure based wireless network. So there can be more than one access point here, and each node is connected with the other node through a fixed base station only. And this fixed base station, you can call it as an AP, that is an access point. Supposing that if a mobile node moves out of the range, if it is going out of the range, it gets into the range into another station at any instant of time. Clear? A typical example of the infrastructure-based network is a cellular network, cellular phone network, and here you yourself can boost the range of the communication if you want to set up more permanent network means. Otherwise, you cannot, it's not necessary to boost the network range. And also, if you will need to bridge to other type of a network, you can go in, you can very well do in that infrastructure-based wireless network. So the best example I have given as a representation as a cellular network here. Here, single hope wireless connectivity to the wired world. That is, space is divided into so many cells like this, and this vehicle or your device or any kind of a device is moving in nature. A base station here is responsible to communicate within the host of the cell. Mobile host can change the cell while communicating. If this car is moving towards this direction, then it can able to change the signal from one area region to another region with the help of handoff. So it has to, this access point has to hand over the signal of this vehicle to this when it is moving just into this area, nearby this area. That is why overlapping I have given into picture for clear understanding of you. Okay, so now let us go into the infrastructure-based network. So infrastructure-based network infrastructure-less network will not have any infrastructure. There is no infrastructure at all. So this is infrastructure-less network. Here you can call it as ad hoc wireless network. So this is otherwise called as a MANET, that do not require a set of infrastructure to work. Clear? Now, in ad hoc network, each node can communicate with other node. So as I already told, no access point is needed to provide access control. So how the routing is happen place then. The routing is in infrastructure-based network is taken care by the access point, whereas ad hoc network, the nodes in the network themselves take care of the routing. Every node will act as an access point as well as router, as well as sending signal and receiving signal. Each node will have a capability of doing all the functions in the case of an ad hoc network. So this is how the routing is happen place. The routing is to find the best possible path between the source and the destination node in order to, what we do in a routing, to transfer the data. What kind of an information we wanted to transfer, you can able to transfer from one node to another node. That I call it a source node to destination node. So as a whole, we can come to the pictorial representation as all the individual node in an ad hoc network maintain some kind of a routing table, which contains the information about the other node. As the nature of ad hoc network is dynamic, it's not static, okay? It is dynamic in nature, means that it is moving in nature. This result in ever-changing router table. One important thing you have to note down here is ad hoc network is asymmetric by nature. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by asymmetric? That is, the path of data upload and download between two nodes in the network may be different. Okay. Now, a typical example of ad hoc network is connecting two or more laptop or some kind of a devices to each other directly without any access point. If you want to quickly set up a peer-to-peer network between two devices, you go into the ad hoc network. Peer-to-peer means one-to-one connection. When you want to have one-to-multiple connection also, you can go in for the ad hoc network setup. Or else when you are capable of creating a quick temporary network, such as just now I told as an example, rescue operation in the case of fire happening in some area. So there also temporary network you can want to set up, you go in for the ad hoc network. Don't depend on the infrastructure-based network. Go in for the infrastructure-less network, or again recall it MANET, mobile ad hoc network. So if there is no infrastructure setup in your area is not available, then go in for the ad hoc network. This network can able to use in the area where there is none of the infrastructure is available. With that, you can able to rectify your faults of communication between one devices to another devices. So with the help of an ad hoc network, your node alone or computer alone need not able to connect any kind of a devices, advanced communication devices. You can able to connect with the help of the ad hoc network. Even if you have invented some kind of a devices, IoT device, or else you can have some kind of an artificial self-intelligent related device you have invented, or you wanted to connect and test it. You can even connect with the mobile ad hoc network managed environment also. Thereby, multiple different devices can do the functioning among themselves. So any devices you can join into the ad hoc environment, but the routing only, how the routing is performed, one should aware of that. That is the juice of the informations. One has to have a clear idea so that they can go ahead in depth into that area and have obtain the knowledge related to the current field, current emerging field of the communication. Clear? So far, any doubt is there? Any doubt for anybody? You can post it in the chat box, or else you can unmute your mic and then you can ask me also. Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, what are the challenges in the mobile ad hoc network? It does not have stable mobility. Mobility is an issue here. So, due to lack of fixed infrastructure, unreliability in wireless media, because medium you cannot rely on it. Unreliability in data transmission, mobility and scalability issues also there, and bandwidth limitation. So within the particular range only, your bandwidth will be maximum. If you want to have another node, another mobile phone want to have a communication within the particular cell, means bandwidth is less, then you can add one more cell near to that, overlap one more cell near to that. Similarly, 10 number of or even n number of the cells you can connect it, and then you can increase the strength, the signal strength. Okay, so power constraints is one of the main issue in the ad hoc network, because it is a low power device. I am connecting my either tablet or my laptop or mobile phone. How long the power will be withstanding? So I have only 5 hours, or else 4 hours, or else even some 10 hours. Okay. Then after 10 hours, if I want to have a communication, then what I have to do? For that also, some kind of a routing protocol are available. That is called as a power constraint managed routing protocol. So with that power constraint technology of the protocol, one can able to extend the lifetime of the network. Means that you have to reduce the overhead. What is overhead? I wanted to say is that it is an extra packet which is generated in the network, that you call it as a overhead. Okay, so if you concentrate on some of the power constraint routing protocol with the help for routing and information from a particular node among the node, then you can able to extend the lifetime, even though you have got this power and bandwidth is a big challenge in the MANET. Okay, now capacity of the particular thing, how well the capacity will be improved, and security issue one has to concentrate on it. Due to high mobility, security issue, some kind of a security issue is there, and how to resolve all those things, it is what the human is doing with the help of the corresponding coding and real-time example, or else a simulation example. Okay, now identifying the intruded node is difficult, but you can do it to some extent possible in the case of a ad hoc network. After that, there's a well security algorithm. If you put up into that, then you can extend the duration also, and security also you can get it. That is what you will be seeing in the cyber security and issues related encryption algorithm and decryption algorithm and all. So everything has got a solution, but we have to be strong enough with respect to, not only with respect to theory, with respect to how well it is working and how well in real time in companies and all they are operating with high security. So once we face the security, then only we can rectify the security into picture. Now that is what recent technology we are speaking about in the throughout the worldwide. Okay. Now, not only those basic challenges I have told you, this is what everybody know in general. Whoever knows this area of managed networking, they know only in general. Apart from that, other challenges also there, that if I made you to clear, then it will be easier for you to understand the rest of the content which I'm delivering for this session. So now address assignment, auto configuration issues I have classified in under that ISR. Two important information alone I have just listed out. That is, one of the thing is address assignment and another one is service discovery. So what is address assignment? Address assignment means automatically assign a unique IP address to each of the unconfigured node. Okay, the address for that, what protocol I have to use it. Address assignment solution in MANET is defined by address auto configuration protocol. You call it as AAP protocol, A squared P protocol, or it has to auto configure protocol that if I use it, then I can manage the address assignment in an efficient way, even though I have a number of nodes. Clear? So next is service discovery. It is one of the most important issue in MANET. It is defined as the process of facilitating service provider to advertise their service in a dynamic way. So a static view don't go into picture because ADOC itself is a dynamic in nature. So you provide or advertise your service in a dynamic way to allow consumers, any number of customers, in order to discover and access those services in an efficient and scalable manner. It should have a scalability also. That is called as a service discovery protocol. Now, what about the density of deployment? When it comes to density into picture in your mind, you will be saying that naturally anybody can say that it is how many number of nodes I can have in a particular area. That is a density of deployment. Density of a node in a ADOC network, it will vary. It will naturally vary with the domain of application. So if you go in for the form field and all, your density of the mobile node, you call it as instead of mobile node, you cut a mobile node and put a sensor node into the picture. You should have to have so many sensor into the form field. Each and every crops you have to place a sensor, and then you have to gather the informations of all those things and then disseminate all those information to the other devices. Thereby all the informations are gathered and the farmer who is sitting at his home relaxedly can view everything on his mobile ADOC node. Okay, that he'll be having a big monitor with a big screen and a big server, and with the help of that he can monitor what is happening in each and every crops and how well it has grown, and what is the duration up to which he can able to handle, and he has to take care of every operation. He can take care of it. So density of the particular deployment of the sensor or network or ADOC network, ADOC node, which depends upon the application, you can have it. Accordingly, you have a particular coverage area, and then particular that routing concept and all, you have to vary according to the application. So naturally, that first ADOC network has been invented for military application only, because we need not waste our soldier to have a problem into happen. Instead of that, some kind of a node go on ADOC network, go into picture and then collect the information and tell it to the particular head, then he can able to take an action, initiative actions immediately, depends upon the need arises. So for a case of a military application, it requires, this MANET requires high availability of the thing, and redundancy, it will making a redundancy with a high priority. So priority is given into military application mainly. So I can call it as ad hoc wireless network generally carry user traffic such as digitized and packetized voice stream or data stream. Both the stream, it can able to deliver the information which demands higher bandwidth. So provided, we have to keep in mind that bandwidth should be maintained at the appropriate level. Then only the voice stream and data stream both together are able to give the information to the head of the military soldier. Okay. Now, this is what the general information or necessary informations which one have to know before going into the topic, because our topic is concentrating on the demonstration of reactive routing protocol, how well one can able to perform routing technology with the help of reactive routing protocol. And in that I have taken into consideration of DSR. DSR is a dynamic source routing protocol. Another one is AODV. It is a ad hoc on-demand vector routing protocol. So with the help of these protocol, I am going to explain in this session. Whereas the protocol zoo, the more managed protocol zoo it itself is a ocean area. It is I have classified for the understanding of you into two types. It's generally if you take all the survey and research paper, it has been classified under these two categories only. One is according to the topology. So topology means that a particular cell, how well it is organized, okay, and according to the position of the routing, it is also classified into like this. So according to the topology based routing, it is classified into three categories. One is called as a proactive approach, and another one is called as a reactive approach, another one is called as a hybrid approach. It is DSDV, proactive approach. Many examples are there. I have given only one example. It is a destination sequence distance vector, and here hybrid means it is a combination of proactive approach as well as reactive approach. The better features of this and better feature of this is combined into that, and they formed another approach, which is a hybrid approach. That is example of this hybrid approach protocol is cluster-based routing protocol and zone routing protocol. And now if I want to come to this, so let us consolidate into picture. MANET do not know the topology of their network. Understand that MANET itself, if you form the mobile node and communication, then don't think that it has know all the topology into picture. So MANET nodes do not know the topology of their own network. Instead, they have to discover it by their own as a topology in the ad hoc network with the help of the dynamic topology. So the basic rule is that new node, whenever enters into the ad hoc network, or else I told that whenever a node join into the network, it must announce its arrival and presence, and should also listens to similar announcement broadcasts made by other mobile node. So when a new person coming to the class, what will they say? Excuse me, ma'am, or excuse me, sir. Then only he will enter. Then only the particular teacher, faculty who is handling the class will able to know that, okay, one more person has come into picture. Let him sit and then we'll continue the thing. Otherwise, they are taking something on the board, and then nowadays everything is virtual, so no issue. Something on the board, and then he is coming and sitting means the faculty will not know how many members are there and how well she can be able to disseminate in an information. If in a class, segregation of the students are also there. So according to their level, it has to he or she has to come down the delivery into come down or come up into the delivery, or else according to the listener, she can able to change their methodology or mode of teaching. So in the similar manner, with the same example, whenever a mobile node wants to join into the network, it has to announce its arrival or presence, and then only it can able to join into the network. Then only each and every network will be taken, node will be taken care of the other node. So as a whole, with the help of this example into picture, I can classify into topology based routing, that is a classroom based routing protocol, and position based routing protocol, that is according to the students who are sitting in the various under various trees, it is called as a position based routing protocol. Now let us go into topology based routing protocol. Some example only I have given, but what is topology based routing protocol? Now I am going to give you with a clear cut picture. Now the protocol are based on the topology of various routing protocol, and due to the dynamic topology of the network, routing of MANET is a challenging task in this case of the topology based routing. It is classified, that is, you are very well know about that. And in the position based routing protocol, it uses additional information about the position of the mobile node. Clear? So it has to get to know the additional information where and all each and every node is sitting. If you take up a ground of the particular college, under tree and under auditorium, and in each and every places, some kind of a node will be available. It has to gather all those position of the mobile node, and it has to perform the appropriate routing for that. So shall I call it as location services it has to perform? Clear? Do you understand what I am saying? So it uses location services to determine the exact position of the source node and the neighbor node and the destination node. By the use of GPS, that is a global positioning system, or some kind of a location services, it maintains the position information about the node and determine the exact coordination of the node. Okay, it has to determine the exact coordination of the node. But any geographical direction and thus leads to a route discovery mechanism. What is route discovery mechanism? That you will be seeing in the consecutive slide. It is finding out the appropriate route. What is route discovery means? In one word, if I want to give an idea about that route discovery means, finding out the appropriate route from a particular mobile node to another node, either by means of sending an information with the help of the flooding or any other kind. Clear? Now that is called as a route discovery, finding out the appropriate route to the one to another node. So it does not require the establishment and maintenance of the route. Neither it has to update the routing table. So we consolidate as position-based routing as it has to collect the position of each and every node, and at the same time it has to have an idea of how the route discovery is happen place, and it does not necessary to have a maintenance of the thing. If it identify the idea of how the route discovery is taken place, then as soon as it find a nearby node and collect the information of the nearby node or person, then everything will be stored in a particular table. So maintenance is not required in that case. If it is already stored in a rack of your house, then you no need to maintain it. Whenever you need, you can just take it and then you can make use of it. Whereas in the topology based routing, it is not like so. It has to do two kind of an operation. One is called as route discovery, another is called as route maintenance. This slide is clear, everybody, because with the help of this two technology and the route discovery and maintenance only, we are going to see this. Any doubt in that? Are you clear about this concept? Any doubt? You can ask me. I hope everybody understood it. Okay. Now, the types of routing protocol are divided into two types. One is under proactive routing protocol. I can even call it as a table-driven routing protocol. And another one is reactive routing protocol. I can call it as a on-demand routing protocol. Under so I have given the slide in an elaborate manner, figure in an elaborate manner compared to the previous one. So now the same reactive as well as proactive I have taken into picture, under which what are the protocol which is coming into that picture is also given. So under reactive routing protocol, it is AODV, ad hoc on-demand vector routing protocol. DIMO is a dynamic mannered on-demand routing protocol. Each and everything is having a separate concept of disseminating or routing and information. Clear? And another thing is dynamic source routing protocol. Another thing is temporarily order routing protocol, routing algorithm. And under proactive, it is a table-driven routing protocol. You have a destination sequence distance vector, and then OLSR is optimized link state routing protocol. And what is BATMAN is better approach to MANET. This is a recent invention which is made into the proactive routing protocol, because each and everything will be utilized in according to the environment on which we are working, or else application on which we are working. Next is a wireless routing protocol. Now, let us go into demonstration of the reactive routing protocol. So I have hidden this and this into picture because we are going to see only this reactive routing protocol. So now, before going into the demonstration, one has to identify they have to very much aware of the trade-off between the reactive routing protocol as well as proactive routing protocol. This is a trade-off between the on-demand or reactive routing protocol as well as proactive routing protocol. So if you go into that particular thing, on-demand protocol or reactive, discover routes as and when needed. So when needed on demand, only it has to discover the route. And shows initiate route discovery. Means that shows node will initiate a route discovery phase, and this phase consists of route requests and route reply messages. Clear? Now, here again, you will be attempting the concept which is called as route overhead. What is route overhead? Everybody please note on that. Route overhead, it may be considered as a quantity of the routing packet sent for maintenance and also route discovery. So, I am sending a routing packet, extra packet. I am sending a quantity of routing packet, means that extra routing packet in order to maintain or discover my route. If an extra packet happens into the picture for each and every routing, then what will happen? At a period of time, after routing up to some 10 nodes, at a period of time, your overhead will be higher. If your overhead is higher, then what will happen? Your operations will be jammed. So you have to have in picture at the same time that overhead should be as minimum as possible for efficient communication. How to maintain the overhead in an efficient way, that with the example slide, we will be seeing into that in the future slides. Now, proactive protocol. It is a traditional distributed shortest path. Here it will not, no overhead is coming into picture. Here only overhead is a issue. So for that we have to take an initiative. Here it is stored in with the help of a shortest path, whichever is the shortest path, that is taken into picture, and all those informations are stored on a table as a permanent thing. Okay, based on the periodic updates, you can get all those information. And overhead will be you can manage appropriately. So the trade-off here is state maintenance traffic and route discovery traffic. One increases, another decreases, or else route via maintained route as well as delay for the route discovery. That is also a picture which is coming into picture. Okay, next is a unicast routing protocol. So we normally, when MANET is taken into picture, we normally say that other two type of casting is multicasting and unicasting. Many protocols have been proposed in the case of an unicasting. Some adapted or specifically invented for MANET, and other are for wire. So we need not bother about that. So no single protocol work well in all environment. So you have to have an attempt to adapt multiple protocol according to the application which we are taking into picture. All those unicast technology protocol will be available in that forum, the TFI, TF forum. So one can get aware of all those information. And what is a trade-off of routing protocol of all? Because we have classified, not only we, and it has been classified into major three only, and after that there is no classification. What are the things which are inventing now is coming under any one of these three groups. So proactive protocol, if you take into picture, it is a traditional distributed shortest path protocol, and it maintains routes between every host port pack at all time, and based on the periodic updates, and it will be happening. Example is DSDB, and in the case of a reactive, it will determine the route only when needed, only when on demand raises, then only it has to determine the route. Otherwise, it will keep the network as a mute mode. Okay. And source initiate the route discovery. Shows only initiate, the rest of the node, according to the source only, the rest of the node will respond appropriately because they all consider as a source as a head node. Okay. Now the best example of that is a DSR routing protocol, and hybrid is a combination of the above. Now, what is the trade-off between only these two, reactive protocol and reactive protocol? Because the other one is a combination of things. It has to always maintain the route, but it does not. It need not maintain the route. Little or no delay. Delay is one of the major issue we have to concentrate on it. Here, there is no delay for route determination because everything is on the table. So consumption of the bandwidth is to keep routes up to date is also consume very less bandwidth, and maintain route which may never be used. Which are the nodes which doesn't require to have a communication, then in that cases and all, those routes will not be stored in the appropriate table. That is the meaning of that. And under the case of a reactive, low overhead, since the route are determined on demand only. Because why here overhead is increased means everything is stored in a particular rack. Here, whenever a demand only, I am raising the request. So my overhead is naturally low in the case of a reactive routing protocol. So significant delay in route determination, because at the instant of time, because fraction of time, all the nodes will be sending an information since it is a wireless. So delay for determining the next consecutive node will taken place. Somewhat delay will be increases, and it will employ a flooding operation. What is flooding? It is naturally you will be clearly able to know. Flooding is a terminology which is used to flood or else keeps on sending an information to the nearby node, or else sending information to the nearby node at the particular instant of time. Same time you are flooding the information. That is search with the help of a search method. And controlling the traffic with the help of a flooding is a little bit difficult. So that is reactive protocol. So better trade-off with respect to mobility pattern we have to consider into that. Okay, so with the help of these two categories, with the help of these two classification and these some kind of a positive point is there, negative point is there, advantage is there, disadvantage is there. Here also positive and negativity is there. Combining these two things, we have to have a better routing protocol. Now, that is what I have taken as a reactive routing protocol as a better way of routing your informations with little overhead and appropriate delay and appropriate bandwidth consumption. Clear? Now, the key goal of reactive routing protocol is that reducing or reduction in routing overhead. So it is useful when number of traffic session is much lower than the number of nodes. So according to that, one can say that no routing structure created beforehand. Let the structure emerges in response. Here, two key method of route discovery is there. One is a source routing, another one is a backward learning. Now, one has to aware of what is source routing. That is also called as path addressing. It allows a sender of a packet to partially or completely specify the route that the packet takes through the network. Source routing allows easier troubleshooting, improved traceout. These are the advantage of the source routing. Then what is backward learning? It is a set of generic mechanism that can be applied to backward learning of a network, MANET. In order to greatly reduce the protocol complexity, we are going in for backward learning. Clear? So, the technique, this technique helps to eliminate the use of explicit control message, as well need to maintain the overarching control informations for route setup, maintenance, or loop prevention. Loop means among 2 or 3 nodes, communication is continuously taken place, then we call it as a route. Then at the same time, maintain the high network throughput. It is called as backward learning. Now, we are going in for reactive on-demand routing protocol with the some kind of a node is taken into picture. So for your clarity, I have taken some kind of a 6 nodes, 0 to 5. Now, here each and everything will have a that is gray arrow request, and this arrow is a reply. So this kind of a query informations are taken place. So first let us see the advantage and disadvantage, then we will go in for the illustration with the real-time example. Okay, this is designed to restrict the bandwidth consumed by control packet in an ad hoc wireless network by eliminating the periodic table update messages required for table-driven approach. What is the disadvantage means of this? The disadvantage of this protocol is the routing maintenance mechanism does not locally repair the broken link. Okay, stale root cache information could also result in inconsistencies during the route reconstruction phase. The connection setup delays is higher than the table-driven routing protocol. So this is called as a other thing, the corresponding disadvantage of the particular thing. So also the considerable routing overhead is involved due to source routing mechanism employed in DSR. But this routing overhead is directly proportional to the path length. So length is taken into maximum length, then only the overhead will be an issue. Otherwise, it is not an issue here. So reactive routing, source initiator reactive routing. So source floods a network with the help of the route request packet to the destination. So flooding means disseminating the information at the same instant of time. So pure flooding only will be involved here. Pure flooding means all the nodes will transmit the request at the same instant of time once only, one time only. So reply will be happen place accordingly. That is called as reactive pure flooding. Okay, reactive pure flooding. And the destinations replies to the request with the help of the reversal path of the route request and also sets up the forward path. Clear? Now, this dynamic routing protocol, I have taken into some number of nodes, 5 to 10 nodes. Or you can call it as a hop, and you can detect the packet error, and direction of the link will be both unidirectional as well as bidirectional. And here Prometheus mode is also used. And what is Prometheus mode is? It is a mode for wireless network that causes a controller to pass all the traffic it receives to the network. Okay, that it will pass all the traffic it receives to the network. Whoever may be, it will just give a freedom to allow into that. This mode is normally used for packet sniffing that takes place on the router or the related network. Now, if you go into the route discovery, I am explaining this with the schematic example for so that all the theory which you have gone through that I have applied into that picture. Now, I've taken a number of nodes A up to H, so many number of nodes. That is why I called it as 5 to or 10 hops you can take into picture, and you can have a continuous monitoring of all those information. Here, route discovery is taken place. Route discovery is undertaken when source node needs a route to the destination. Let us assume A is a source node and G is a destination node. Let us assume G is a destination and A is a source node. Now, discovery is, what is the discovery? Flooding of the data, flooding of the route request. So, route request is given as this red color. So, it is sending a route request A to B. At the same time, it is flooding. So, it is sending a route request to C. So, A is sent in both direction. Now, B is accepting this route request and sending again a flooding operation to D. D is the nearest node of that. So, it via which it is travel A node and B node. So, A and B, A minus B, it is not minus B, A to B. And then it is sending to ABD. So at the same instant of time, it is E is also sending flooding operation or route request operation to F node, H node, D node. Because whoever is nearby the particular node, those and all will be getting the flooded information or else flooded route request informations appropriately would provided what are the nodes which are taken place for forwarding the information from the source node that has been considered as a route request. Clear? Able to understand? Am I clear? Are you all here? Any doubt? Now, this route discovery,
No, madam, no doubt, ma'am.
no doubt so far. Okay. Are you able to follow what I'm saying now clearly? So route discovery is issued with the exponential backoff interval. So the source sends a broadcast packet which contains the source address, destination address, request ID, and the path. And if it is seeing the packet, it discards it. Otherwise, the route looks up its route cache to look for the route to the destination and append its route reply and send back to the source. Now, this red is a route request. Now, if G is receiving a route request from D, at the same time it is receiving a route request from H also through this ACH, ACE and H also sending. But which one is the shortest will be taken as a route reply path. Now G is sending a route reply signal which is in a green letter via this. That is G, T node, B node and A node. Thereby route request and reply will be completed, and at the same time it will append its each and every node will append its ID of the initiator, ID of the source or else the intermediate node, and the sequence number which is a target ID. Who is the target? A is a source and G is a destination, means that target ID, and partial route it is taken place. So each and every partial route that also will be appended. So that I have given as a flowchart model for even more clear understanding. Now A need to send to G. So now A need to send to G. Now look up the cache. Cache means a temporary memory location for a route to A to G. If it is found, no issue at all. Yes, write a route in the packet header. It will be writing and send the next packet to the next home. So it is this thing has happened place between one node to another node. There are 4 nodes in between source and destination, means one node to another node. It will look a cache. If it is found, then it will write a packet header and send a packet. If it is not found in the route cache, then what it will do? It will buffer the particular packet and start the route discovery protocol. It will start the protocol and finish the protocol until it is happening. So it will, as soon as it starts a discovery or discovery protocol, it will continue its operation until it will wait until it is finished. If it is finished, it will write the information into the buffer and it will send it to the packet header. And here the particular route found will be written in the packet header and sent to the next home. So this entire flowchart is about for sending information from one node to another node, intermediate node. Okay. One node to another node with the help of the route cache and the appropriate route. This is how the discovery is happen place. If you get the PPT from the sir, it will be useful for you for understanding into picture in the later stages after completion of that. Okay, now at the intermediate node, what is happening? Source ID is recently seen in the request list. It is checking, and if it is no source ID, then host address already in the partial route, it is checking. If my address is a target address is a destination address. If it is destination address, if it is found, then it will send a route reply packet. Then operation will be completed. So everything is happening fine, means no issue at all. Supposing that it is not there, it has to discard the route request. He is not my source node, because everybody may attempt to send a false data also. Even for our mobile, we are getting a false information or call from others also. So it is determining the appropriate route for between one node to another node. This is what the procedure is taken place. So now, before performing a source ID, it is accepting the packet, then only it can able to see a source ID. Now, supposing that here is a statement which is existing. Yes is there, no issue at all. Supposing that target address is not there, it is not my destination node, then I have to append my address to the partial node and then store the ID as a source ID in the particular list and then do the broadcasting operation. If I do like this, then the operations will be performed efficiently. So what I have explained in that flowchart, I have given us in the form of theory in the case of a root discovery. So you can get the information clearly. Now, what is this root maintenance? Root maintenance is nothing but whenever a node transmit a data packet, a root reply or root error must be generated. It must verify that the next hop correctly receives the packet. If not, the node must send a root error to the node responsible for generating this root error. Clear? So, if you transmit the packet, everything is going properly, fine, no issue at all. Supposing that error is happening, it has to, the intermediate node has to send a root error with the help of the header information. That is what this root maintenance is doing. Intermediate node evostrope adjusted catches routers also, and the source deletes the root, tries another one which is catched, and then restart the root discovery process. So root maintenance is performed with the help of a root error packet by means of detecting the error detection and then sending a root error to the sender. So root error is coming means to the sender, then sender has to initiate the discovery. That is called as a root discovery process again. This is called as root maintenance. Wow, I have to maintain the root also as soon as I determine the route from source to destination. So that I have given as a clear pictorial representation. How a root error is happening place. If a root error happening place means everything is catch information is overwritten again with the help of the initial root discovery process that we have seen some 5 slides before that. Okay. I hope so. Everything will be following up to that. Now, let us demonstrate with the help of an example. So, this is an example node I have taken into picture. All of you, my dear colleagues, understand that S is a source node and A, B, C, everything is intermediate nodes. This is how everything are interlinked. Wired connection I have given, but assume that this is a wireless, and D is a destination. Okay, S is a source and D is a destination. Some node may be moving here also or nearby that also. They may join into the particular thing or leave away from the particular thing. Now, how a root discovery is taken place in the DSR. So, when a node S, source node S, wants to send a remember that diagram. Okay, when a node S wants to send a packet to D, then but does not know the root discovery to D, it will not know the beginning. Yes, correct. S will initiate the root discovery. How a root discovery is happen place? Source node will send a flooding operation with the help of the root request. Each node will append its own identifier in the cache when forwarding the root request. See here, I am flooding the particular data or broadcasting the particular data that's in the form of a root request to the nearby node B, C, E, etc. Now, this represents the identifier appended along with the particular thing. So this is at the first instant of time it is taking place. Next instant of time, B whose nearby node are A and H, he will send a root request. Similarly, C whose nearby node are C and E, and H, G, E. So for H also it is sending a root request, G also it is sending a root request, E also it is sending a root request. So this is a path on which it is traversed. Okay, SC is a path on which. So like this, it will be forwarding the root request. Node C receives a root request from G and H, but does not forward it to again because C has already received a root request once. Okay, so thereby it is happening place till the destination is reached. Okay, now to the destination, who are all the request node? Who are all the nodes sending the root request? Yes, J and K both are sending a root request. You are correct. Okay, J is sending via this path, K is sending via this path. Now, but J and K are hidden to node D. Node D does not know two nodes are sending a root request packet because J and K are hidden to D. D knows only J at one instant of time, only K at another instant of time. So, since these two are hidden, not interlinked, so they are hidden, transmission may collide. D will get a confusion which node to take into picture. Either J via J node I have to send a root reply, or via K node I have to send a root reply. This is what confusion which has taken place at G node with the help of the source discovery, with the help of the flooding algorithm. Now, D does not forward a root request because D has got some more nodes are also nearby. So D does not forward a root request because D is intended target to the root discovery. So D will not send any root request to N or nearby node. Okay, but nearby node will be attempting to have a root request communication with the other nearby node, either J, M to J or M to D also it will be happening. But D knows that because target ID and the source ID, everything we are appending into the particular table, storing in the not table, I call it as a catch. Okay, you have to call it as a catch. So catch in which source ID as well as destination's ID, they are there. So destination will keep mum even though routing is taken place here. Now destination node will send a root reply packet to the source node. Now destination node, on receiving the first root request from J as well as K, it will send a root reply to the corresponding route by means of reversing the route, appending the root request. That is called as root reply packet. So that will be transmitted from D to S with the help of the appropriate shortest path routing. Okay, this is taken this path as a thing, and then root reply control messages are transmitted via JF, E and S. Now, root on node S on receiving root reply catches the root included into the root reply and sends a data packet. Only request and reply alone doesn't matter for us. We have to send a concerned data packet also. That is what our final intention. So the entire route is included into the packet header because everything should be stored in the cache according to the demand arises at the particular instant of time. Later instant of time, that caches will be overwritten by the another one. Okay, so intermediate node will be sending the related data from source to destinations in this way with the help of the packet header. So packet header size will be growing as and when if you have more number of nodes. So accordingly, the root cache will be, length will be increasing it. This is how DSR algorithm will generate a root request packet and root reply packet and delivery of the information into picture. Understand? Now, before going into the optimization, let us have 2 minutes break. If you have any questions, you can unmute it and then ask me. I hope so. No doubt is there, isn't it? Are you all clear up to this DSR? Okay, shall we proceed? Okay, now here, before going into the optimization, some of the points as I want to consolidate. Source node and intermediate node stores the next hop information corresponding to each flow of data packet transmission, which uses the data sequence number to determine and update to path to the destination. And the root request carries the source ID, destination ID, sequence number, destination sequence number, similarly source sequence number, and broadcast identifier, and time to live, how long the particular packet will be on live. Okay, that all those informations are stored. And the data sequence number indicates the freshness of the route that is accepted by the source. When an intermediate node receives a route request, it either forward or it prepares a route reply if it has a valid route to the destination. Validity of the intermediate node in between nodes is determined by comparing the sequence number. And if a route request is received multiple times, means then the duplicate copy you have to discard it. Every intermediate node enters the previous node address as its broadcast ID address. The timer is used to delete the entry in case of the route reply packet. So apart from the thing which I have explained, these are the important point or thing one has to have in picture while implementing it in the form of a algorithm program. Okay. Now, we will be consolidating as optimization. We have consolidated it and how to optimize with the help of the root catching. So this is again with respect to the previous slide only. Here each node catches a new root by any means with the help of root request and root reply, as I already told. And node S find a particular path, that is SEFJD, that is there in the previous slide, SEFJD. Similarly, node K also receives, and node F forwards root reply, and node E forwards data, and node may learn a root when it overhears the data. But the problem here is stale catch may increase overhead. So as I told, overhead is one of the important issue. One has to concentrate on this DSR routing or reactive routing protocol. Then what is stale root catch? One has to know the information about that. So the stale root catch information could result in inconsistency during the root construction phase. As a part of the optimization, if the intermediate node are also allowed to originate root reply packet, then the source node may receive multiple replies. Remember, multiple replies from the intermediate nodes. So in order to reduce the routing overhead, that is what my aim, with improved route discovery, latency, appropriate on-demand routing protocol has to be taken into picture. So this thereby the stale catches may increase the overhead that can be avoided with the help of appropriately choosing the routing protocol. Then so far we have seen in detail with the help of a demonstration and with the illustration, with the example, dynamic source routing protocol. If you learned or know the DSR in appropriately, then AODV, ad hoc on-demand vector routing protocol, I call it as AODV, which is almost similar to DSR routing protocol with little difference only. So that will be easier if you understand DSR in an appropriate way. So what are the advantages of DSR is route maintained only between nodes who needs to communicate through the network. So which reduces the overhead as well as the route maintenance procedure. Also, route catching can further reduce the discovery as well as overhead. Single route discovery may yield many routes to the destination due to intermediate node. That also we have seen it, that has been avoided. And what are the disadvantages? Packet header size grows because some 5 to 10 nodes only have taken into picture. There itself packet header is up to 7 rows. So flood of route requests may potentially reach all nodes of the network. So that is one of the thing. So everything is flooding to the particular node. So only the node which wants fast to get the data. So that issue you have to concentrate on that. And finally, the stale route will lead to increased overhead and increased contention. Contention means collision. If too many route reply comes back, then collision occurs. So that will jam your operation. That has to be concentrated on that. So collision, stale hatch, and flooding, and header size. So these are the consolidation disadvantage. If you avoid all those things with the help of your protocol technology, then it will be working fine. So as a whole, I can say it is a potentially zero control overhead and loop-free operation because it is not performing a loop-free. So now conceptually supports all the directional link, uni as well as by, and high packet delay, jitter, and space overhead, and that Prometheus node operates excessive amount of power. So that is the thing which has to be avoided. So now let us go into the another routing protocol, which is an ad hoc on-demand vector routing protocol. DSR includes source route in a packet header, results in larger header and degrade the performance. But the AODV attempts to improve on the DSR by maintaining the routing table at the node so that the data packet do not have contain the routes. As well as this AODV is a combination of DSR and DSDV mechanism. And here also you have a discovery and mechanism maintenance phase used for hop by hop routing, periodic advertisement, sequence number, and it is an on-demand representation of routing, and also from the similar route discovery, and in maintain routing information by using traditional one entry per destination. Here, one entry is not available. Everything is stored on the cache. Here, one entry per destination method, it is maintaining. So, multiple route cache entries for every destination is there in DSR, but here one entry per destination. That is a key point one has to remember on this AODV. This AODV depends on the entire information on the routing table. But I didn't say anything about table in the DSR routing table. So in AODV, that routing table is used to disseminate or inseminate a route reply back to the source, and after that to route the data packet to the destination. So naturally, AODV make use of sequence number maintained at every destination for betterment of its operation. Okay. This is for the formation of routing loops and maintaining freshness of among the routes. So these sequence number are drifted by the routing protocol. If you look at this figure, here I have taken some nodes into picture. S is a source node and B is a destination node. Now, AODV routing protocol also floods the information in the form of a route request. So yes, floods the information in the form of a route request. Now immediately it is flooding the information, not like DSR, CAE again flooding does not happen place. So here reverse paths are formed when the node hears a route request. When it hears a route request, reverse paths are formed. Each node forward the route request only once. So I call it as pure flooding is happen place in the case of an AODV. Pure flooding will not happen place in the case of a previous one. So route requests are forwarded in a manner similar to DSR, but pure with the help of a pure flooding, and similar to the particular thing, it receives as soon as it receives a route request, it is sending a route reply. Whereas till previous thing, till it reaches to the destination, route request has been forwarded. Here, as soon as it receives a route request, reply is forwarded. That is a major difference between AODV and DSR. That's why I told that if you understand DSR, AODV is nothing. Okay, here, now ACE received route request in the previous slide. Now this source floods a route request and each node forward the route request only once, but this will reply back the information with the help of this arrow. Okay, immediately response has got. So reverse paths are formed when the node hears a route request. That is a key information one has to aware of it in the AODV routing protocol. So route reply are forwarded here via the reverse path. Route reply is forwarded via the reverse path. So forward path is in a green color, reverse path is in a blue color. Both are obtained. So when both are obtained means naturally we have to concentrate on the final data transmission. That is data is transmitted from source to destination. So this is what about AODV, entire information about AODV, because in DSR itself I have given a clear-cut picture about how everything is happened place. So AODV is similar with a little difference. So this a route establishment in AODV make use of the time-based sets for every node to completely utilize respective routing table entries. So if the routing table entry is not being utilized recently, then it gets expired. So complete set of all the nodes, ancestor nodes is maintained for every routing table entry, which indicates that the set of neighbor node which makes use of the entry to route table packets. So look at here, route request and immediate reply in blue color, I got it. Immediate route reply, I got it. Similarly, the same figure only I have taken into consideration. Node D again does not forward route request since it is an intended recipient. Now, with the help of this tilted symbol, okay, that is a data packet forwarding on the particular thing. So the same operation is happened place. Only the thing is immediately it is responding to that particular thing. Okay. Sorry. Now what will happen if a link failure is occurring or root error is occurring in a AODV? Supposing that a neighbor of the node X is considered active for the root table entry if the neighbor send a packet with the active root timeout interval, which was forwarded using the entry, what will happen? You have to imagine that scenario. And then if you imagine that scenario, then the neighbor node has to send a periodically exchange a hello message to everything. When the next hop link, immediate next hop link in the routing table entry breaks, if it cuts, all active neighbors are informed immediately. So link failures are propagated here in the case of an AODV with the help of root error message. Clear? So link failure is once it is occurring, as soon as it occurs, it will be propagated to every node, each and every intermediate node, every member of the group of the network with the help of the root error packet, which I call it as R error, okay, RERR, which also update the sequence number of every node. Now, this root error in AODV. So root maintenance in AODV, when the link of the next hop breaks, then these nodes are notified with the root error packet. So every intermediate ancestor node will forward a root error in its own set of immediate ancestor, thereby completely removing all roots using the broken link. So root error packet in AODV informs all sources. So nearby node I am considering here as a sources only about the failure using the link, which is in contrast to that what is done in CSR. Have we ever taken care of error packet in DSR? No. Error occurs means that error will be stored in the particular cache, and then that particular path should not be taken into picture. The alternative path has been taken into picture. Whereas here, particular route via which you are sending an information, error is happening place means then no issue at all. Everything is stored on the table. From the table, whichever is needed, we are going to get from the particular rack of the thing and then sending again to the another path. That is what happening in AODV because of the table maintenance. But for maintaining the table, we have to spend extra memory. So with the small devices, extra memory spending is little bit tedious one only. That is one of main drawback of AODV. But constant routing can be obtained since it is generating, it is identifying the link failure as well as it is also identifying the root error messages. So root error in AODV, when a particular node X is unable to forward a packet be among source and destination node, it generates an error packet and increments the destination sequence number when one error is attempted, and increment the sequence number for every error packet. And also if a source node receives an error, it initiates the new discovery with the help of the destination. Even though you have a 10 or 20 or 100 nodes in the picture. Okay, clear? Do you understand? Okay. When a node D receives the root request with the destination sequence number n, the particular node will set the sequence number unless it is already larger than the particular node. Thereby, you will get a appropriate optimization. That is why you are checking the final node as a also into consideration. Now, useful optimization of the AODV is intermediate node with the root to the particular destination can reply to the root request. So you can get the faster operation, and flooding of root requests also you can avoid it to the maximum extent possible because not necessary to go in for the flooding. So causing the loops in presence of the link failure. So because of the optimization technology we are going into picture, it may cause the root loops will be a thing which is not required in the case of a particular thing. So root loop I have given clearly in the case of AODV because it is one of the inappropriate thing we should not consider into picture. So that has to be avoided. Now let us take, in order to explain this root loop, I have taken some 6 nodes into picture, 5 nodes into picture. Assume you are sending from A to B is up to C, so sending the information up to that, and then C is not sending, C does not perform any discovery operation to D, whereas A, B, E, C are sending a discovery operation appropriately. Now node A receives the root request via the path of CEA or CBA. Okay. Now node A replies, since the node A knows that D is a destination, not C. D is a destination. Here the link is failure. So your data, your information, requesting of an information, appropriate ID and related informations will be carried over among these nodes. So it is performing a routing loop among A, B, C, E, etc. So this root loop should be avoided. In order to avoid that, assume that particular link failed. Node A does not know about it, whether error or link failed. Then C has to perform a root discovery for D. Node A receives a root request from C to A by some means. Then the node A replies, since A only knows D is a destination, C does not know the destination. So A will again inform to C with the help of the root discovery that I want to communicate to D, not to you, not to C. C is not an intended target. So this looping operation in the second attempt, it will be eliminated. This is how you can avoid the root loop also in AODV routing protocol. Clear? So this root loops avoidance is possible in the case of a AODV, whereas it is not possible in the case of a DSR routing protocol. Now, each node maintains a sequence number. For that, it has to act as a timestamp, and the intermittent node timestamp sends a message, and with the help of the sequence number associated with it, and also the latest sequence number has to be updated, and it has to be refreshed each and every time. Supposing the 10 nodes you are using, then higher number of refreshments should be taken place, and up-to-date information of all the nodes and the related sequence number should also be stored in the particular table with the help of the timestamp. That is for the AODV operation. Now, loop freedom. Here, data sequence I've taken 10 because in between 10 nodes, and so intermediate node replaces with the root only if it has a root with a higher associated sequence number. So sequence number is 15 for D. So S will identify that higher sequence number is my final sequence number. So until then, it will be sending the particular operation. So thereby it will be with the help of a sequence number, higher sequence number, it will be avoiding the root loop also. Previous slides we have seen what is root loop and how to avoid the root loop with the help of a root discovery process. And this is an example, real example, which shows that with the help of the sequence number and root request, how to determine the destination with the help of avoiding the root loop and error message. Clear? Now, how to maintain the path? Supposing that the small pictorial representation I've taken 1 to some 5 or 6 nodes. Now, node 3 is present in the network when I started communication from source to destination, but with a fraction of time period, fraction of second, it is getting moved out of the range. In that case, how to maintain the path? So it is done with the help of source moves, reinitiate the root discovery again. When the destination or intermediate nodes moves, upstream node of the break, you have to generate the root error packet. It contains a list of all destination no longer reachable due to link break, because the node 3 has moved up some direction away from that particular area. So error will be naturally generated as per our previous concept. So that has to be informed, link breakage has to be informed to the source node immediately. So this error packet is propagated until the node with the no precursors for destination is route. So when node 3 is moved away from the particular thing, that is considered as an error permanently, and now source will initiate a route discovery process and send the information via 1 to 4, etc. 3 will not be taken into picture at all. Now, the summary of AODV. Now, this is at most one route per destination is maintained at each and every node, whereas multiple route doesn't require because everything is on the available, instantly available. After the particular link is getting breakage, all routes using the failure rings are erased because AODV gives a permission to obtain the error link also for the source. So when you look at the table entry of the source node, so many entries will be there. ID of each and every intermediate node, sequence number of each and every intermediate node, which are the link it is traversed, that link address, unique address, and then up to destination address, and then which are the link performing a loop free, that also stored in another column, and which are the routes which is having an error, break, loop. Everything will be stored in the particular source node. So source node is overloaded with so much information, but even though it is overloaded, it has to be taken into picture until the operation is there, because timeout operation is also stored in that. So up to the particular instant of time period, all the informations are available. Say for 10 minutes wins, up to 10 minutes, all the information is available. After 10 minutes, that will be erased and then refreshed, and then all new information will be stored on the particular table. That is what happening in the AODV. So one aspects of condition, AODV is applicable for some case of the application, some kind of application where necessary. DSR is applicable where some we know don't want to depend on too much of memory. So use of sequence number to prevent the loops, and optimization technology is also obtained in the case of an AODV. That is, the route table instead of storing all the full routes, because full routes, if you stored in the cache, it takes time and it takes much memory. Route table it will know, and flooding of information also. So route need not be included in the packet header. Whereas here in AODV, all those slides, packet header I didn't mention at all. So there is no packet header needed for the AODV. Node maintain routing table containing entries only in the route only, and at most one next hop per destinations are maintained at each and every node. Whereas in DSR it is reversed, and sequence number are used to avoid old or broken routes, because we need not to go into the attempt of the old route or broken route after refreshment time period. Sequence number prevent formation of the route loops, and the unused route expires even if topology does not change. So what are the things so far we have seen? I have consolidated in the form of a summary in these 2 slides. Any question, you can unmute it and then ask, or else put it in the chat box. Thank you for patient listening. Yes? Any doubt? See, the combination of DSR and AODV you can use into any kind of a present scenario of the particular thing. Thank you all. You can simulate everything. This is a illustration with the example. You can simulate everything with the help of the NS2 simulator. Okay, clear? So NS2 or Omnet simulator. NS2 simulator is freely available. It's a freeware only. Shall I stop presenting?
Participants, the feedback link is posted in the chat box. Kindly fill it. In the afternoon session, shortly sharp at 2 p.m. under the topic of network security in IoT. So kindly join at 2 o'clock. The latecomers will not be allowed to join. So try to attend the session on time.